We do get asked quite often by clients, by business owners, managers, whether they should use interviews as a redundancy selection technique. And I understand why people want to do that. I think a lot of managers are more comfortable with the recruitment process than they are perhaps with the redundancy selection process. Recruitment is maybe something they do more often. They feel more comfortable with that kind of recruitment environment. They also feel uncomfortable with the prospect of having to score people they know in a redundancy selection exercise, having to score them against performance criteria, attendance, disciplinary record, those kind of things. Having to score somebody, and they don't want to score somebody down, score somebody low in a certain area. It feels very personal. Whereas an interview can feel more of a positive thing and doesn't involve that kind of negative or perceived as negative feedback you might get if you're scoring somebody down for their performance or their skills. The problem with doing it is that obviously not everybody is good at interviews. Not everybody performs well in an interview situation. An interview can be helpful in a recruitment exercise because you're meeting people that you've probably not met before and you don't know much about them. When it's a redundancy selection, you know these people, or you should know these people. You've seen evidence of their performance. You've seen them in the work environment that you have. So an interview shouldn't be necessary to establish whether they should be selected for redundancy. You have plenty of solid evidence of their performance. You don't need to ask them questions about, how they would perform in a certain situation or something like that. So people don't always perform well in interviews. It's not a good indicator of who's going to do well at a particular job, and you have more solid evidence you should use. So you should really use that. The only time really interviews can be useful is if you're interviewing for a new role. So as part of the redundancy selection, you've changed the structure and you're having new roles. So you could use an interview as part of the process for working out who's going to be selected for new jobs. But if you choose to use interviews as a redundancy selection process, you should only use it as part of the process. You should definitely look at evidence of performance and skills and disciplinary record, attendance record, the other criteria you would normally use. Definitely use those as well. And if you have to have an interview, only have it as part of the criteria. So don't weight it too highly. Because although it can feel sometimes managers are scared of scoring people and just feel worried about it. It's not a pleasant exercise, but it actually gives your employees a fairer chance of being assessed fairly against their colleagues if you score against their performance and the evidence of what they've been doing previously than just put them through an interview process. So it's worth doing that, even though it's perhaps not as comfortable.